Alright guys, today we're going to do another Marvel team up featuring Spider-Man, who was in every every Marvel team up back in the day. And this one is with Red Sonja. Now, I did a couple of months ago, I did a Spider-Man Red Sonja on my channel. There was a 5-issue miniseries from 2007, and it was bad. It was really, really bad. I hated it with a passion. I mean, check out my video if you want to know more. I said during those videos, one of those videos, that we're going to go back and do a proper, cool story with Spider-Man and Red Sonja. That's this one. This is by Chris Claremont and John Byrne from 1978. Yes, and we're going to dive right in because it's good. All right. This is in December. Spider-Man is swinging, in front of the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and he's always late, and he needs to go to the Daily Bugle. But then we see the security guard doing his rounds, and he's a little bit, scaredy cat, I guess. And then the moonlight comes in, and it shines particularly on one artifact. And somehow this guy is then being mesmerized, and he hears a voice in his head, and he grabs then the amulet. And then before we go here, we go there. So Spider-Man turns into Peter Parker, and his pullover, is it a pullover? I don't know, sweater. Reminds me of a little bit of the logo of the Wizard, the other speedster from Marvel Comics. And this is 100% sure Clark Kent, right? I mean, even Robbie Robinson says, "Hey, tell me, old buddy, how does it feel to be a mild-mannered reporter from a great Metropolitan TV network?" So this is because, John Byrne did also Superman, right? But not in this timeline. I always messed that part up. Anyway, so this is cool. They did that a lot, I believe they did that also with Superman comics when a figure that looks like Peter or J. Jonah Jameson. It was fun, They had fun with comics. Anyway, so here's Jonah. So they say, "Hey, did you enjoy your Christmas bonus?" And then Mary Jane comes. I mean, look at her, man. She's gorgeous. And he says, "Hey, what are you doing here?" Right? And he kissed her because of mistletoe. And I love his, what's the American word? Mutton chops? His sideburns. I know, this is my Peter Parker. It looks just great. So Robbie says, "Hey, we have trouble in the Metropolitan Museum of Art." And then, I don't know if this was a thing, but it seems that the Daily Bugle has a radio car. So wait, what? With a siren? Was that real? So they're in this car with Charlie Snow. I do not remember Charlie Snow or his importance in Marvel Comics anymore. And it seems that Mary Jane hits the ride. So what? So they're coming there, right? And there's a lot of people there, and they're bursting through the crowd. And then this scene says, it says as part of the sky had turned into living flame. Before their eyes, a blood-hued beam of energy lances upward from the museum as far as the eye can see, washing the landscape in angry, garish shades of crimson. Man, the writing was so cool back then. Someone near Peter screams. A grim-faced police sergeant crosses himself, mutter a prayer to him. Too many around him, looking into that terrible light, is like looking through the gates of hell. All right, so Peter does what Peter does. He's sneaking away, turning into Spider-Man. But Mary Jane doesn't like that because he said he always does that. So not this time. So she's following and goes into the museum through some kind of a side door or whatever. And then Spider-Man, his spider sense is tingling. He's being grabbed, but it really hurts him. And also it freezes his bones, right, to the marrow, and he's being thrown into these demons where he needs to defend himself. And then Mary Jane comes in and says, "Oh no, he's fighting monsters and they're killing him." Her first thought is of flight, her second of how she might help. Gripped by more emotions than she can name, MJ stands frozen, unsure what to do. And in that instant, the decision is taken out of her hands. And she says, "The sword is glowing, light inside my head, but it doesn't hurt." Voice calling, and the ancient blade is heavy in her hands, almost impossible to lift. The light, pure as silver, spread up her arms across her body, filling the room with its elemental glow. And with that eldritch glow, Mary Jane's Watson ceased to be. And In her place, a legend walks the earth once more. So this looks great, right? I mean, look at her. She looks gorgeous. She looks strong. And what I really appreciate is that John Byrne really honors Frank Thorne, who was, the original artist of the Red Sonja books, back in the day when she had a series. And Frank Thorne has a really special way of drawing women, especially the hair. And she has also always has this dark, like eyeshadow. The hairs look like flowing flame or something. So I really like that he, emulates that art style to a certain degree. And of course with his own art style as well, especially the hair. Super cool. But here, a familiar figure that we've seen before, right? So Red Sonja helps Spider-Man, destroying those demons, and she's hacking and slashing. And then out of the shadows, so woman, even after a sleep of centuries, we two meet again. It's Kulan Gath, right? But then Spider-Man comes in, saving her before Kulan Gath, disintegrates her. And he pulls her in and just up, and away. Swings away. But these two cannot understand each other, right? Because they're coming from two different eras. And Red Sonja doesn't know what to think about it. And she thinks, it's weird that people are just running on walls. So he thinks he must be a demon working with Kulan Gath, and just, punches his lighthouse with this as a result. And when they wake up, there is a pool of shimmering light, and they're being... Sorry. I got a telephone. I need to... Anyway, let's move on. They always call me when I'm doing stuff like this. If not the postman ringing on the door, it's one of other people that needs me or something. Anyway, so she realizes that, and she's calling him Man Spider because that is a thing with Kulan Gath and Red Sonja calling Spider-Man Man Spider. And she realizes she makes a mistake, but of course Spider-Man cannot, understand her. But Kulan Gath is, because he's a sorcerer, right? So he's going to use his mumbo jumbo to so that Spider-Man can hear him. And he says, "We are here in the Stygian temple, those elder gods." And he's Kulan Gath, high priest of the Nagarai, if I say that correctly. And if I remember correctly, the Nagarai is something that came back also in the X-Men comics, when some kind of a monster called the Nashtir, if I'm recalling it, coming out of those pits. And also they tangled with the Hulk. Even Kitty Pryde was hunted by one of those beings. But then some slime or tentacles coming out of it, right? And this is the Saar pool. That is a gateway to another dimension. And they'd be dead in seconds. He says, so Red Sonja says, "When I last met you, I cut out your heart. My life is not as other man's vixen. Even as you slew my corporeal form, I transferred my soul into this amulet, where I waited for time without end. Until tonight, when the unique juxtaposition of occult forces around this place enabled me to reach out and ensnare a body." Right. So but then Spider-Man knows this amulet, but he also recognized that they are still in the museum, right? That represents an ancient Egyptian temple. More ads. But Spider-Man realizes that this is a stage set with paint and plywood. But Kulan Gath thinks this is real, that they are still in this era, right? In this previous era where he comes from, called Stygia. So he uses his web, breaks free, and then pulls the web down, and everything is crashing down, right? Because it's not steel beams, so it's just all wood. And so Spider-Man rescues Sonja and get the hell out of here, right? And he's so angry. "There are but 3 Saar pools on Earth, and you have sealed the second, perhaps forever. All creation is not loud enough to hide you from my wrath," right? He says, "Come on, lady, this is no time for hunting up your pick sticker. Seize your insane ape," grunts Man Spider. "I know what I'm doing." All right, they're being surrounded by demons, right? So they decided to fight. More ads, by the way. But then, while he's jumping away and wants to get out of here and get Doctor Strange to help, because he's Kulan Gath is sorcerer. Kulan Gath is blocking the way. He says, You will reach no one, man spider, save those who rule the abode of the dead. And he's, preparing a spell, right? And he shoots them, but Spider-Man, as you know, is super fast. He's jumping from left to right, and then grabs Kulan Gath, and they are being thrown through this door outside. Now, the next one is cool. The impact carries the two men out onto the museum broad steps, and Spider-Man finds himself noting crazily that the crowd sure has grown since he arrived. Both Sorcerer and She-Devil are stunned beyond thought, each instinctively calling on the oldest, strongest gods. By the great Python, he says, and his disbelieving eyes take in the size and wonders of this impossible city before them. Kulan Gath says, "No, dark gods, please. I know I had slept a long time, but I never dreamed the world could change so much." Even Sonja says that. "This air, the foul, it chokes me. Truly, this is the city of the damned." "That's right, Wiz. Inside the museum was illusion. This is reality. Your world is dead." And she says, "Hold him, Conrad. Let my blade end the fight." And one more thing, bozo. It's not Man-Spider, but Spider-Man. He punches right back into the museum. Ads. Damn it. And she's angry. She says, "You idiot, don't stand there gawking. Get after him before he draws more power from the accursed amulet," and recovers. If you're babbling about the Wiz, Red, I think our troubles are over. Look at this smiling. He's got this dimple here under his mask. He's very amused. So basically he's saying that he could not let her kill Kulan Gath because he knew that when he talked about taking a body, that beneath this whole thing, beneath, it's an innocent guy that's been possessed by Kulan Gath, so he could not let her kill her. And then the sword is falling down. Now it's Spidey's turn to breath a prayer, and Sonja's form turns transparent as glass and fades away, revealing a gentle, more fragile soul whose work is done, and leaving Spidey to realize with a start that possession is sometimes a two-edged sword, used by the forces of good as well as evil. Awesome. So the police comes in. He says, "Hey, get me the old man, and I want the redhead with the steel bikini as well." And they only found, this guard bedazzled because he's now, fought. He thinks that probably this is a nightmare. Meanwhile, halfway on Staten Island, he's reminiscing about what happened. Wizards, demons, elder gods, enchanted amulets. I think I prefer my menaces more down to earth. Anyway, the sooner I get rid of this, but then this amulet started to speak to them. "Hearken, O man, I am power, don me, and the world is yours. Hear and obey, obey, obey." He says, "No." Phew, that was close. That was a little bit too close for comfort, he says. "The wizard always had my soul, but this amulet's at the bottom of the Atlantic now. With luck, it'll never harm anyone again." Funny, thinking of the battle and of Red Sonja, all of a sudden I have this irresistible craving for a flagon of ale. And that is the end, my friends. This is 100,000 times better than that crap from 2007. This is a gorgeous looking, fantastic, cool crossover with, beautiful women, evil guys that are really evil, and of course our, neighborhood web-slinger called Spider-Man. I hope you all have a great day, my friends and backers and subscribers. Thank you so much for watching as always. I see you next time. Bye-bye.